I sure hope so. 101.1 The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues, so you can sound off and talk back at 501 401 1011. And every once in a while, somebody does, but that's all of the show. So, one of the reporters that I check out every day is Susan Crabtree. She's a national political reporter for Real Clear Politics. And today, she's out there on Twitter going, yo, 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 wait a minute, look at this now. Blockbuster about Thomas Matthew Crooks, the guy that shot the president July 13th, Butler, Pennsylvania, at the rally last year. Blockbuster reporting from my girl Miranda Devine over New York Post. Y'all got to check this out. So I'm like, first of all, I have all the respect in the world for Miranda Devine, reporter at the New York Post. She is the reporter who broke the story back in 2020 about Hunter Biden's laptop. But on top of this, Susan Crabtree saying, hey, check it out right here, check it out. So I did. Big article, New York Post, Miranda Devine, FBI, Secret Service, butchered the Thomas Crooks case and invited conspiracies. We deserve the truth. That's the name of the article. So what do you think's going to happen after that? Here we go. We are all owed a better explanation from the FBI and Secret Service about the attempted assassination of Donald Trump 16 months ago at a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. The president himself remains unsatisfied with the answers he's been given about the circumstances leading to 20-year-old Thomas Crooks climbing on a rooftop with an AR-15 style rifle and firing 8 times at Trump, narrowly missing his head but hitting his ear. Crooks was shot dead by a Secret Service sniper, but not before he killed 50-year-old rally-goer Corey Comparator and seriously wounded 58-year-old David Dutch and 75-year-old James Copenhaver, who were sitting in the bleachers behind Trump. There is something very wrong with the official story, and that invites conspiracy theories. The president demanded answers months ago. A man was murdered. What is going on? Then FBI Director Christopher Wray told Congress after the July 13th, 2024 attack that the Bureau had found nothing in Crooks' online history that pointed to a motive or political ideology. A week later, Christopher Wray's deputy, Paul Abate, told Congress that comments posted on one of Crooks' social media accounts, quote, appear to reflect anti-Semitic and anti-immigration themes to espouse political violence and are described as extreme in nature, unquote. Well, thanks to an enterprising source who uncovered Crooks' hidden digital footprint, we can see that Abate misled Congress by omission because he left out an entire section of Matthew Crooks' online interactions from January to August of 2020 when he did an ideological backflip and went from being rabidly pro-Trump to rabidly anti-Trump and then went dark, never seeming to post again. Now, the online interactions from when Brooks was aged 15 to 17 give us a better understanding of his evolution into an assassin and invite more questions about what or who reversed his ideology. The source says the danger Crooks posed was visible for years in public online spaces. His radicalization, violent rhetoric, and obsession with political violence were all documented under his real name. The threat wasn't hidden. Okay. So the official narrative claimed that Thomas Matthew Crooks acted alone and without a clear motive, ideology, or digital footprint. Yet the source found reams of information that shows Crooks, quote, was not simply some unknowable lone actor. He left a digital trail of violent threats, extremist ideology, and admiration for mass violence. He spoke openly of political assassination, posted under his real name, and was even flagged by other users who mentioned law enforcement in their replies. Despite this, his account remained active for more than 5 years and was only removed the day after the shooting. None of this online activity was referenced in the final congressional report released in December 2024, making this even more troubling, unquote. So that whole thing was a quote from the source who found everything. Starting with Crooks' phone number, the source used tools available to private investigators and web archives to uncover the assassin's very visible online persona. Now, I wonder, just think it out loud here, because we do a lot of that, right? We do a lot of thinking out loud. I wonder why the super sleuths at Christopher Wray and Paul Abate's FBI weren't able to do exactly the same thing that this guy did. Did you hear what he said? Let me run it by you again. Let me repeat it for the West Coast audience. Starting with Crooks' phone number, the source used tools readily available to private investigators and web archives to uncover the assassin's very visible online persona. Now, in case you're wondering, well, Doc, wait a minute. What in the world is a web archive? Well, let me tell you, I'm really familiar with one of them, but I know there are others. I've stumbled across others from time to time, but I'm really familiar with one of them. It's called the Wayback Machine. And if you do an internet search for the words Wayback Machine, you'll come up with the website archive.org. And unless somebody with a website has figured out how to contact the people in charge of archive.org and said, hey, we want you to take this off, what archive.org has been doing since the late 90s is taking snapshots of websites and web pages. So, for instance, if you have a business and some years ago you changed out your webmaster and got somebody to design a website that's a lot nicer than the website you had when the internet was in its infancy, somebody can go back 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years and look and see what your website used to look like. So it's kind of interesting. So that is kind of a rudimentary explanation of what a web archive is. So this, as yet, anonymous source started with Thomas Matthew Crooks' phone number, used tools available to private investigators, and also went into web archives to uncover the assassin's very visible online persona. Now, Crooks' most prolific activity was on YouTube with 737 public comments. Public comments. The account, Tom Crooks 2178, which was visible to other users as Tom Crooks, was created January 14th, 2019, and was suspended July 14, 2024, the day after the Butler attack, for violating YouTube's policy on violent criminal organizations. Gee, I wonder why they didn't suspend him earlier, if he's talking all this violence. Crooks' trajectory from pro-Trump to anti-Trump is evident. He referred to Trump as the literal definition of patriotism in a comment at 1:17 a.m., July 20, 2019. He also issued several targeted threats against the Democrat congressional representatives in the squad. Yeah, it's AOC, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib. They're the squad. He wrote at 8:18 a.m., July 20th, 2019, quote, "I hope a quick, painful death to all the deplorable immigrants and anti-Trump congresswomen who don't deserve anything this country has given them." On December 12th, 2019, he wrote in all caps, "Murder the Democrats." Well, see, you would think that would get him kicked out of YouTube, but obviously you'd be wrong. But in early 2020, Crooks's online behavior flipped 180 degrees, and he became very critical of Trump, Fox News, and Republican complaints about mail-in voting. The first time he criticized Trump was on January 23rd, 2020, when he commented on a video of law professor Jonathan Turley, legal scholar over Fox, talking about Trump's first impeachment. Crooks wrote, quote, "Keep in mind the only reason we may know about any of this is because of Trump's stupidity," unquote. He started describing Trump supporters as a cult. On February 26, 2020, he wrote, quote, "How can you people call others sheep, but you are too brainwashed to realize how dumb you are? I mean, literally, you guys sound like a cult at times," unquote. The same day he described Trump as racist. By April 2020, Crooks was constantly criticizing Trump's pandemic response, saying he was too slow and everything he's doing now should have been done. Through the summer of 2020, Crooks' online rhetoric became increasingly radical and violent. And again, this is less than a year after he's talking about how wonderful Trump was and how horrible the Democrats are. But again, when you're 15 or 16, you can be like a reed blowing in the wind, right? August 5th, 2020, Crooks wrote, "In my opinion, the only way to fight the government is with terrorism-style attacks. Sneak a bomb into an essential building and set it off before anyone sees you. Track down any important people / politicians / military leaders, etc., and try to assassinate them. Any sort of head-to-head fight is suicide, and even ambush or surprise attacks likely aren't going to end well. A large portion of the war will also be propaganda / information wars. Both sides will want people to join them, and a big deciding factor in wars is often which side has more popular support for them," unquote. Among the 17 accounts uncovered by our source, only one on PayPal was operated under an alias, Rod Swanson. Rod Swanson is a former senior FBI agent who was the chief of investigations for the state of Nevada during the 2017 Las Vegas mass shooting. He also previously served on FBI Director Robert Mueller's protective detail and as a firearms instructor in Pennsylvania. Contacted by phone over the weekend, Swanson said he was surprised his name was connected to Crooks. He said, "I don't know anything about that kid or his family. I don't even use PayPal. I don't even know how to set up a PayPal account." He said he retired from the FBI in Vegas in 2016 and went to work for the Nevada Attorney General from September 2015 to March 2020. He now works in the oil and gas business in Houston. When told of Crooks' online threats, he said there was no way that the FBI would not have been aware of the teenager. He said no matter how ridiculous the allegation, no matter if it's COVID or not, somebody's going to knock on somebody's door. If they investigated that kid, there's a record of it, and there's an assessment that some leader made that this was not a threat or it rose to a level and they did something else. He also said that if the FBI had that information about his name on the PayPal account, I can't even imagine they would not have reached out to me right away. Given Crook's pattern of tracking high-profile mass shootings and violent events, the source believes it's plausible that he adopted Swanson's name as a private joke. I don't know. I mean, that's Rod Swanson. It wasn't Ron Swanson, the character in the Parks and Rec TV show. Maybe he got one consonant wrong. Anyway, a lot more coming up on the cover-up on the Butler shooting of Trump as the Doc Washburn Show continues on 101.1 The Answer. It's getting pretty cool out there. So what are you going to do if your heater breaks down in the midst of the Arkansas winter? I'll tell you what I recommend. Call my buddy Brian Knight, owner of Knight's Service Company. Knight Service Company has been guarding your comfort all over central Arkansas for over 25 years. Brian Knight is my friend. I trust him and his folks. They got a family-owned HVAC business that built their reputation on Christian principles, honest service, and putting customers first, whether it's AC, heating, or even refrigeration. If it heats or cools in your home or business, they fix it or they can install a new unit, and they deal with residential and commercial. Just ask Knight Service Company about their list of commercial customers who have trusted them with their business for decades. They service all makes and models. They are fast, they're affordable, they have honest solutions. Knight's Service Company, guarding your comfort all over central Arkansas for over 25 years. Visit knightsservicecompany.com. That's KNIGHTS, servicecompany.com. Well, that's where I want to start singing. 101.1 The Answer, Doc Washburn Show continues, where you can sound off and talk back at 501-401-1011. So we got this huge blockbuster expose here on the FBI just botching the investigation into the would-be assassin of President Donald J. Trump. July 13th, last year, Butler, Pennsylvania political rally. Miranda Devine, New York Post. Have you heard about this anywhere else today? No? Why am I not surprised? Pick up where we left off here, and it gets kind of rough, okay? This is at least PG-13, if not R-rated, but the news is the news. Like alleged Charlie Kirk assassin Tyler Robinson, Thomas Matthew Crooks appears to have been interested in furries and exploring gender identity. He described himself with the pronouns they, them on the platform DeviantArt, which is one of the biggest online hubs for furry art and the furry community. I don't think I've ever heard anything more ridiculous in my life. A furry is someone who has an interest in anthropomorphized animal characters often as a fetish. Two accounts linked to Crook's primary email were found on DeviantArt under usernames like Epic Microwave and The Epic Microwave. The account suggests he had an obsession with scantily clad cartoon characters sporting muscle-bound male bodies with female heads. One of the people Crooks interacted with online was Willie Tepes, T-E-P-E-S. There's no way I'm going to pronounce that correctly. A member of a Norwegian neo-Nazi group, the Nordic Resistance Movement, which has since been designated as a terrorist organization by the United States State Department. This Tepes guy encouraged violence and Crooks' extremism using a phrase from Mao Zedong, the Chinese dictator from back in the 60s and 70s, political power comes from the barrel of a gun. Thomas Matthew Crooks repeated that several times. So the FBI is like, nope, no online presence, nope, nothing. Unbelievable. In one comment, on October 5th, 2025, more than a year after Butler, this Tepes guy out of Norway commented to another user that he had been contacted by both Russian and American intelligence. He claimed people who ask you to contact them when they just as easily could contact you are feds. This is how they avoid entrapment. Both American and Russian intelligence do this. I have chatted to both. Shortly after his interactions with Tepes, Crooks disappeared offline. Did his brush with the Norwegian and his own violent rhetoric win him a visit from the FBI or the Secret Service? If not, why not? If so, why has it not been disclosed? The FBI refused to comment when asked Sunday whether Crooks was ever investigated, visited, or in some way brought to the attention of the agency before he tried to assassinate Trump, or whether there was an FBI file on Crooks before Butler. The FBI also refused to comment on why it has not been forthcoming on congressional oversight requests. Well, it does kind of make you wonder, doesn't it? Now, I will say this. If there is an ongoing criminal investigation, it's entirely possible, I would think, that the president may be aware of a lot more intel than has been disclosed publicly. Now, it's only normal, it's only natural for people to be impatient, like, hey, what's the holdup? We want to know. Well, of course we do. I certainly do also. But Miranda Devine is not through. More coming up on the Crook story right after this. 101.1 The Answer. Doc Washington Show continues. Sound off and talk back. 501-401-1011. So this bombshell story, Miranda Devine, New York Post, entitled FBI, Secret Service butchered the Thomas Crooks case and invited conspiracies. We deserve the truth. Now, Miranda Devine is one of the best reporters in the country, and one of the other best reporters in the country, Susan Crabtree over at Real Clear Politics. She was out there on Twitter going today, like, look what Miranda just dropped. You got to take a look at this. And, of course, she was right. Now, let me pick up where we left off going to the bottom of the hour news. So, because there's this, so far, unnamed source who did not have a problem finding Thomas Matthew Crooks' online trajectory from being pro-Trump to anti-Trump, from being so-called patriotic American when he's 15 or 16 to being someone who tried to foment political violence against conservatives. Didn't have a problem finding that at all. So, anyway, where we left off, when they were asked yesterday, Sunday, to comment on whether Thomas Matthew Crooks was ever investigated, visited, or in some way brought to the attention of the FBI before he tried to assassinate Trump, or whether there was an FBI file on Crooks before the Butler, Pennsylvania rally, July 13th of last year, the FBI refused to comment. And the FBI also refused to comment on why it has not been forthcoming on congressional oversight requests. Now, it's one thing to say, well, of course, the previous FBI under Christopher Wray was horrible. Under Christopher Wray, James Comey, Robert Mueller, how far do you want to go back? All the way to Louis Freeh? But, you see, now, it's supposed to be a new sheriff in town. Now, with Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, who's a friend of mine, is supposed to be different. The FBI also refused to comment on why it has not been forthcoming on congressional oversight requests. On July 24th, 2024, 11 days after the Butler, Pennsylvania shooting in which one man was murdered, Corey Comprador, and two men were seriously wounded, Christopher Wray told Congress on that day, July 24, 2024, that the Bureau did not have any prior information about the shooter and that he was not in our holdings before the shooting. He said that the FBI ran a search for Crooks through its databases and his name was not found. Susan Crabtree, I mentioned her to you earlier. Susan Crabtree, investigative reporter for Real Clear Politics, who has broken multiple stories about the failures at Butler, says her key Secret Service source from the 2020 time period, quote, told me that Crooks was not a person of record at the U.S. Secret Service in 2020 and wasn't known to the U.S. Secret Service until Butler, unquote. So something doesn't add up. Christopher Wray had been heavily criticized after the Parkland, Florida school shooting. Remember that? Marjorie Stoneman Douglas? Nikki Cruz? Christopher Wray had been heavily criticized. That was Valentine's Day, right? 2018? Christopher Wray had been heavily criticized after the Parkland, Florida high school shooting because the FBI failed to act after being repeatedly warned about the shooter, Nicholas Cruz, that he had guns, that he had threatened people, that he had exhibited erratic behavior and might carry out a school shooting. Was Christopher Wray trying to avoid being blamed for another atrocity on his watch? Is that why he downplayed Donald Trump's injury when he testified to Congress a week after Butler and falsely suggested that President Trump had not been struck by a bullet, but by shrapnel from his podium? Do you remember that part? Can you believe that Christopher Wray said that under oath, congressional testimony? But I digress. Miranda Devine continues over the New York Post. If the Secret Service had become aware of Thomas Matthew Cook's anti-Trump rhetoric in 2020 during Trump's presidency, protocol is that it would have determined whether he was a threat and offloaded to the FBI to take over the investigation. We don't know what happened because the Secret Service after-action report is classified. The only bodies that could look at it are the intelligence committees in Congress, which so far have shown little curiosity. Now, why might that be, I want to know? A criminal investigation of a presidential assassination or attempted assassination falls under the jurisdiction of the FBI. So, any comments on the subject matter would come from the Bureau. Requests for information from the FBI by Senator Ron Johnson, Republican, Wisconsin, have been rebuffed, including under current director Kash Patel. Oh no, wait a minute. That does not sound good. Ron Johnson had to issue a subpoena in July on the first anniversary of the Butler attack and complained that he had been stonewalled by the FBI and the Secret Service in his efforts to request security camera footage, forensic reports, and other documents related to the Crooks case. Trump and those close to him are skeptical about the official story, and they question how the impoverished parents of Thomas Matthew Crooks, who had to ask for money from neighbors to pay for their son's funeral, could possibly afford to hire a white shoe law firm, Quinn Logue, out of Pittsburgh. It is hard to believe that the FBI and or Secret Service could have possibly missed Thomas Matthew Crooks. The question is, what did they do about him? Well, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it sure looks like nada, not a muss, not a doggone thing. They didn't do anything about the boy. I say boy. He was a full-grown adult by the time he shot Trump, and he killed Corey Comparator, and he wounded 2 other people. It's just horrific. Somebody knows a lot more than they're letting on. Somebody knows a whole lot more than they're letting on. And there are a lot of us out here that are not going to let go of the story because we deserve the truth and we deserve answers. We deserve justice. Let me put it this way. Right after they arrested the guy they say shot Charlie Kirk. People were talking about how he was in discussion groups online. Tyler Robinson, remember that? Yeah, he was in discussion groups online. And was it Patel or Bongino or both of them who said, yeah, we're looking at a lot of people, implying that maybe other people knew beforehand what Tyler Robinson was planning on doing. And we saw quotes from people, like from the day before Charlie was assassinated. Hey, something big's going down in my college tomorrow. You'll know about it when you see it on the news. And the college course was Utah Valley University. So if you got the FBI saying, hey, we're taking this seriously, we're looking into this, we're investigating a lot of other people, and you got Tyler Robinson's tranny boyfriend all of a sudden disappeared shortly after he was arrested with fast food sitting in the front seat of his car, and Amazon packages piling up at the doorway to the apartment they shared, and he's nowhere to be found. And most folks are thinking, well, he's probably in protected custody. Okay, all right. So it looks like, by all accounts, it would not be unreasonable to surmise that the FBI is taking very seriously the shooting of Charlie Kirk, and they are doing what they said they were doing, which is investigating a lot of people who Tyler Robinson was in communication with before the shooting. So why would Butler be different? Again, there's no way in the world you can tell me that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and the folks in charge of the FBI under Trump are more concerned about justice for Charlie Kirk than they would be concerned about justice for Donald Trump, who, by the grace of God, got winged on the ear instead of taking a bullet to the temple. They're not. They're eminently concerned about both. But, as Miranda Devine said, and Susan Crabtree agrees, something isn't adding up here. And they're right. And greater minds than I are agreeing with that. So, but you see the distinction I'm making? Kash and Dan have clearly been specific enough about the fact that they're not ruling out the possibility that other people may have been involved as accessories before the fact, Tyler Robinson allegedly shooting Charlie Kirk. They're not ruling that out at all. They're looking at these discussion groups online Tyler Robinson was in. They're looking at comments from people saying, hey, yo, something big is coming down at my college tomorrow when Charlie Kirk's going to be there. You'll know. It'll be on the news. Okay, they're looking at all these people. And we're like, good, great. So the fact that Kash and Dan have not publicly said Christopher Wray was lying, that Thomas Matthew Crooks didn't have any online persona, when Miranda Devine's unnamed source just found out he did all kinds of stuff online before the shooting July 13th last year at Butler. It's concerning, and I just have to believe at some point the picture will become more clear. But right now, Miranda Devine and Susan Crabtree are saying, we got questions. Got a lot of questions here. And Ron Johnson subpoenaing, saying, hey, we want to know the after-action report on Butler. Come on, man. I don't know, brother. I can't call it. Sometimes I'm reminded of the words of the late, great philosopher Ronnie Van Zant. All I can do is write about it. It's just like, I sometimes feel like a voice crying in the wilderness, because a lot of the stuff I bring up, I know nobody else around here is talking about. But I just think that it is my duty to bring these things to you. If you want to sound off and talk back, the number to call is 501-401-1011. The Doc Washer Show continues on 101.1 The Answer. Hey, I know that health insurance can be confusing, but here's the good news. Tammy Chase is someone who can help you. Tammy is my friend. She owns an independent insurance agency in Maumelle, and she actually takes the time to sit down with you in person and explain everything in plain English. Man, what a concept. That's a great idea. Now, whether you're nowhere near 65 years old yet, you're just trying to figure out family health, dental, and vision coverage, or you're nearing Medicare age, feeling overwhelmed by choices, Tammy Chase handles it all. She works with multiple insurance companies, so you're not limited to just one option. Tammy Chase finds what works for your situation and budget. She can help you sign up for Medicaid, too. But here's what really sets Tammy Chase apart. She doesn't just sign you up and disappear. She's not going to ghost you. Tammy Chase and her team are there start to finish. When enrollment periods come up, she helps you review and make changes, even with specialized plans like cancer, heart attack, and stroke coverage. If you're tired of feeling confused about insurance, visit TammyChaseInsurance.com. Trust me, having someone local who actually cares makes all the difference in the world. The website again is TammyChaseInsurance.com. One hundred 101.1 The Answer. Doc Washer Show continues. You can sound off and talk back. 501-401-1011. Man, oh man, oh man, we got breaking news all the time. Trump administration says all SNAP recipients will now be required to reapply for benefits following the discovery of widespread fraud. Wait. You're telling me There was widespread fraud in the SNAP program. What? People are using food stamps to buy M&Ms and Joe Cola? Oh. People were selling their food stamps. Oh, okay. All right. I got it. Yeah, that's amazing. What I hope this means is that they won't allow illegal aliens to get food stamps anymore. But I don't know, Holmes. I can't call it, fam. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't have any idea. I hope that's what it means. I would think that would be what President Trump wants it to be. But we'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see. Because clearly, if you cut off all the benefits, if you cut off all of the goodies, the freebies that are enticing people to come here from other countries, and, they have to get legal. They have to come here legally, and they have to follow the law, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, then, that could be an issue. Okay, wait a minute. What's going on here? Stop Anti-Semitism over on Twitter says, great news. Gersh Agency has dumped Succession actress Dasha Nekrasova after she hosted Nazi fanboy Nick Fuentes on her podcast. Okay. So Daryl Cooper, the guy who pretends to be a historian, who says Hitler was a good guy and Churchill was a bad guy, said, the only appropriate response to this nonsense is to mainstream Nick Fuentes completely. They're trying to harm and intimidate people away from talking to guys like Fuentes, so give them the exact opposite. My buddy Connor Friedersdorf says, what a coincidence that someone who thinks Churchill was the chief villain of World War II also wants to mainstream a neo-Nazi as a matter of rhetorical game theory. And then, of course, Banshee at Red State says, we may never know his true motivations. It's a real mystery. See, that's called a joke. That was a little joke. It's kind of like when you have a jihad attack and a guy is screaming Allah Akbar as he's killing people, and then law enforcement's like, yeah, we don't have any idea, man. No, we don't know what the motivations were. Yeah, that's something that goes on an awful lot. So coming up at the top of the hour news, we have a guest who's going to tell us that in some municipalities in central Arkansas, especially Sherwood, do you know they're going to have a vote to try to raise taxes tomorrow? Yeah, we wanted them to stop doing that. The Republican Party the convention, the Republican convention, we said we wanted to stop doing that, and the Republican Party's like, oh, no, they need to raise taxes, I guess. I don't know. It's jacked up. More coming up as the Doc Washer Show continues on 101.1 The Answer. 101.1 The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues, or you can sound off and talk back at 501-401-1011. I don't know if you're aware of this, because most people are not aware of this, but there are a number of municipalities here in the natural state that are actually having elections tomorrow, not to put anybody in a particular office, but to raise your taxes. Yes, North Little Rock school millage. They want to increase the millage for the school tax. Russellville has it going on. Conway has it going on. But not just those. Plenty of them all over the natural state. And also we have Sherwood. Now, it is our honor to welcome our next guest, Mike Willingham, Principal and Chief Operating Officer of Regina Durham in the healthcare quadrant, the healthcare segment, who is kind of concerned his hometown of Sherwood is trying to raise taxes. Brother Willingham, welcome to the Doc Washburn Show. What's up, brother?
Hey, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, sir. Thanks for coming on the show. And just to let everybody know, this is not the Mike Willingham that used to do traffic and weather on the radio many moons ago. This is the Mike Willingham in the segment of society that is doing healthcare solutions. So you can adjust your accoutrements accordingly as you're driving home. So, Mike, I'm old enough to remember not too long ago, the Republican Party of Arkansas had their semi-annual convention meeting. We had to go all the way up to Rogers, Arkansas. And one of the things we voted for, I guess it was a non-binding resolution, but it was like, hey. We want municipalities to no longer be able to call elections that nobody ever hears about, to raise your millage rate, to raise your taxes, to raise whatever. And unfortunately, I think the Republican Party of Arkansas and the supermajority Republicans in the legislature ignored the will of the people as expressed through the Republican semi-annual convention. And so we still have situations like this. Is it your impression that a lot of your friends and neighbors there in Sherwood don't realize that there's going to be a vote tomorrow? And what is this vote all about?
Yes, a lot of people still do not know about this election that's tomorrow and been going on since Wednesday of last week. And they have no idea. You know, the government rarely gives you an opportunity to vote to lower your taxes.
Right.
And tomorrow, Sherwood residents have an opportunity to actually lower the sales tax in Sherwood by voting no.
So this is one of those sales taxes that if enough people vote no, it will be sunsetted and it will, in effect, somewhat lower your sales tax.
Correct. Back in 2018, Sherwood residents, or a small segment of the Sherwood resident population, voted to have a 3/4 cent sales tax for infrastructure. Less than 1,200 people voted in that election.
Wow.
And it barely passed. I think it passed by 39 votes, maybe somewhere around 100 votes, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But that tax was supposed to sunset once the bonds are paid, which should be, according to Stevens Inc., it should be about this time next year.
Yeah.
Which would reduce the sales tax that is already high in Sherwood. It would reduce it 3/4 cent. But instead, the mayor has come up with, I call it a spending package, but they call it Reimagine Sherwood. I call it Reimagine Sherwood broke.
Oh, boy.
It's a spending package of $93 million.
Good
for a
grief.
Yeah, which would cost us, by the time interest is paid, almost $140 million.
Well, now,
$45 million in interest.
I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for Sherwood, Arkansas, and they have census figures, and a lot of people don't realize that, well, a lot of people do realize the U.S. Census Bureau has a census every 10 years. A lot of people don't realize they do estimates in between time. So this says that the estimated population for Sherwood, Arkansas in 2024 would be just a little over 33,000 people. And
Correct.
although your population grew 14%, well, in from 1990 to 2000, it grew 37%. From 2000 to 2010, it grew 11%. From 2010 to 2020, from 2020 to 2024, it grew less than 2%. So, call me crazy, Mike, but I'm not sure that raising taxes is the way to boost your population or your economy, even in a small town like Sherwood.
I would agree with you. One of the things that they have if you build it, they will come mentality. So this spending package is which, by the way, on the ballot, it does not guarantee any of these projects because the ballot says they may build these things.
Oh,
a $52 million sports center, a complex, get this, an $11.5 million animal shelter.
good grief. Isn't there some kind of county animal shelter already?
Sherwood has an animal shelter, and we do need a new animal shelter.
Okay.
I just don't know that we need a $12 million animal shelter.
Yeah, really. That's crazy.
A $9 million park in North Sherwood, which is formerly Gravel Ridge. And I don't really know how you spend $9 million on a park, unless it's Wild River Country we're rebuilding.
Wow.
And so the crazy part to this, Doc, is they have only given not to exceed maximum prices. So the $11.5 million animal shelter, the $52 million sports complex, the $9 million park, they've given no itemized list of how they came up with those numbers.
Wow.
And I've said I don't think the city has a list, because if they did, they would have shut me up, used it to shut me up 60 days ago.
Yeah. Well, I wonder, so if this bill passes and you keep the sales tax high and all these millions are coming in that the mayor and city directors can kind of do what they want with, although they may spend it on this park or that animal shelter or whatever, they don't have to. I wonder if anybody's considered the possibility that all of that revenue could be planning on putting it into the BLF MMJHT fund. I don't know if you are familiar with the BLF MMJHT fund.
No, what is that?
Okay, that is the Better Lunches from Mayor Mary Jo Hay Townsell Fund. So that could be, because let's face it. Sorry, Mike. I didn't deserve the chuckle. You're very kind. I'll be here all week. Come early Friday for the No Smoking Show.
Yeah.
So obviously you want people to get out there tomorrow. And is the wording about this initiative confusing, or is it pretty obvious what a yes and a no are?
Well, it depends on, if you talk to Mary Jo about it, or if you talk to a regular citizen who can comprehend and explain.
Yeah.
So there's 3 questions on the ballot. The first question is there's about $4 million left on the 2018 bonds. So in order for the other 2 to go forward, there has to be a yes vote on that. So that would basically refinance those bonds. So it's kind of like if you go out and you go to the car dealership and they say, hey, you're upside down on this car, but we're going to let you finance that. We're just going to tack it on to the price of your car. So now you're upside down on the car you just bought.
Yikes.
So that's what they're doing that. So the ballot issue number 2 is the, just under $80 million spending package that says they may do these things.
Yeah.
The only thing that guarantees, that ballot question guarantees, is that they're going to spend $80 million.
Wow.
Now they have to spend it within Parks and Rec, but as you know, these days, pretty much everything is under Parks and Rec in cities.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they could spend a lot of money on new soda machines, I guess.
Absolutely. It just depends on, who that benefits.
Yeah. Well, now I don't know.
The question number 3 is the animal shelter. Here's the thing about the animal shelter. Everybody wants a new animal shelter, but the ballot question number 3 reads animal shelter improvements.
Yeah.
It does not guarantee a new animal shelter.
Wow. Well, I guess I don't know, Mike, if there's peer-reviewed evidence on this, but I've seen anecdotal evidence that that the things people tend to buy out of soda machines, namely sodas, may not be beneficial for folks.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And even some of the snacks in the snack machines might not be. But if they have to spend the money and they decide they don't want to spend it on some of the things that they have made public, don't be surprised if, you get new machines with crackers and stuff in them.
Right. That's exactly right.
This is, I'm trying to make a joke, and you're like, no, but that's serious. Yeah.
It's really one of the most bizarre ballots I've seen.
Wow.
And I think Mary Jo, just like most city mayors, I think her idea was to kind of ease this in quietly, tell people about it, get a few people excited about it, have the special election, and then her people would go out and vote for it. Her supporters would go out and vote for it. What she didn't count is me asking questions about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they always try to ease this stuff in quietly. So I guess when I was saying, hey, is this going to be hard to understand? I guess if you don't want your taxes to stay high or to be renewed next year, if you just vote no on everything, that'll be a safe way to go, right?
Yeah, basically, there's one. You either want your taxes to stay the same, and you want to pay taxes for the next 20 to 30 years.
Yeah.
Or you want to lower your taxes. You want to tell the government, the city of Sherwood, no. I mean, listen, if you go on the Sherwood neighborhood pages,
yeah,
there are people. Every other post besides mine is about people needing food. People can't afford groceries.
Wow.
They can't afford Christmas presents.
Wow.
And I think it's just a bad time for any tax, whether it's Conway or Sherwood, for a city to ask people for more money.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
Especially after all the money they got from COVID. What'd they do with that money?
Well, maybe that went into the BLF fund, better lunches for whoever is in charge then. Yeah.
Sure.
Well, Mike Willingham, we appreciate you coming on the Doc Washburn Show. Appreciate your concern for your neighbors there in Sherwood. And again, Sherwood, Conway, North Little Rock. I did a quick little internet search. Those are the ones that are having the elections to keep your taxes high that I was able to find in Central Arkansas. But I would not at all be surprised if that's just the tip of the iceberg and there are more. So,
yeah. And if we've got Sherwood listeners, I know we do, they can go to SherwoodTaxTruth.com and read about it. But the best thing is to get out and vote tomorrow and vote no, no, no. SherwoodTaxTruth.com. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
All right. Mike Willingham, again, is the founder and chief operating officer of Regina Derm Healthcare Solutions. We appreciate you coming on and giving the Doc Washer Show listeners an opportunity to try to reduce your taxes, at least in Sherwood, Conway, and North Little Rock. God bless you, sir. Appreciate it. Have a great day. Thank you. All righty. Like I say, we try to tell you about stuff nobody else is telling you about. And I got Sherwood, I got North Little Rock, I got Conway. Don't be surprised if they're trying to raise your taxes other places in central Arkansas. I don't have anything on Perrin yet. Anyway, Doc Washington Show continues on 101.1 The Answer. All right, I want to tell you about the best kept secret in American healthcare. This is a secret that Charlie Kirk found out about in 2019 when he was all banged up and was told he's probably going to be bedridden for weeks. He found a doctor there in Chicagoland area who adjusts the atlas, the top bone of your spinal column. The same thing that my doctor down here in Arkansas, Dr. J.R. Crabtree, does. Let me tell you how this works. And this is especially important to you if you struggle with sinuses, allergies, dizziness, vertigo, blood sugar issues, fibromyalgia, eczema, psoriasis, or even migraines. The Arkansas Upper Cervical Center might be able to help you. Helped a lot of other folks. Helped me, helped my wife, helped a lot of people we know. All right, so here's what's up. Your skull can weigh anywhere from 8 to 15 pounds. It rests on the atlas, the C1, top bone of your spinal column, which only weighs 2 ounces. So it's really easy for that little tiny atlas bone to get out of alignment. And if it does, that imbalance can cause your whole spinal column to get kinked up like a chain. When that happens, your central nervous system isn't able to communicate with the rest of your body as God designed it to do. Now, I suffered with severe hay fever, 5 or 6 weeks every spring all my life, had migraines all my life. After I got my atlas adjusted, the hay fever and the migraines went away for good. So whatever you suffer from, do yourself a favor. Call my friends at the Arkansas Upper Cervical Center for a free consultation. All the contact info is on their website, turnmypoweron.com. They've helped so many people I know. The website again, turnmypoweron.com. One oh one point one, The Answer. Doc Washer Show continues. We sound off and talk back. 501-401-1011. You know, this whole idea of raising your taxes by holding an election that most people in your town don't even know about. I don't know, something about that seems to just be a little bit off, if I may use the term present company. It just doesn't seem to be honest and above board, if I may use that term present company. Now, speaking of items in the news, which do not seem to be honest and above board. We have a story here from KRK4 out of England, Arkansas. Looks like kind of breaking news here because it just dropped a few minutes ago. Officials with the England, Arkansas Police Department said the England High School's assistant principal has been arrested and is facing felony charges for rape and sexual assault. Do you ever wonder what the vetting process is for people who want to be in the administration of public schools? Because a story like this that begins with that sentence, I guess my mind works differently than other people. Other people are probably thinking things like, well, gee, that sounds horrifying for whoever the alleged victim is. Or other people may be, well, if he's found guilty, hanging's too good for him or whatever. And, and I get all that, and I don't have a problem with reactions like that, but call me crazy because the first thing I think of was, do they do any vetting at all before they hire somebody like this? Or, on the other hand, is it one of those deals where the guy had no criminal history, there's nothing in his past, no matter how stringent the vetting would be, you couldn't have known? And that could be the answer, but the way my mind works, you naturally start off with, whoa, wait a minute, what kind of vetting process would a public school in England, Arkansas have? So anyway, officials with and KRK4 has a story, officials with the England, Arkansas Police Department said the England High School's assistant principal has been arrested and is facing felony charges for rape and sexual assault. Officials said Trent Morgan was arrested following an investigation into sexual misconduct involving a student. The investigation was initiated after a student went to police on November 17th to report inappropriate communications and conduct by Morgan. November 17th, that's today. So this was quickly. And we're going to tell you about the felony charges that England High School assistant principal Trent Morgan is facing. Again, presumed innocent or proven guilty in a court of law, but they handled this pretty quickly, which just kind of makes you wonder, what's up? And so sometimes we do local stories, and this sure is one that we're going to continue with after the bottom of the hour news as the Doc Washburn Show continues. 101.1 The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues. Shout off, talk back. 501-401-1011. I was talking to my producer about this, and she knows people live in Northwest Arkansas, and apparently there have been a number of legal issues for public school employees up in Northwest Arkansas, too. This is not an isolated case. This situation out of England, Arkansas, we're talking about before the bottom of the hour news, in case you're just getting in your car, driving home from work. And, I mean, I'm old enough to remember, just in the past few months, there was a school superintendent up in Iowa. I think it was Des Moines. I think it was the biggest school district in the state of Iowa. Turns out he was an illegal alien. He had a removal order from several years ago, and law enforcement was chasing him. I mean, well, no, there's no allegation that the guy in England, Arkansas is an illegal or anything like that. All right, let me start over. Alex Kindland over at KRK4 has a story just dropped a few minutes ago. Officials with the England, Arkansas Police Department said the England High School's assistant principal has been arrested and is facing felony charges for rape and sexual assault. Officials said Trent Morgan was arrested following an investigation into sexual misconduct involving a student. The investigation was initiated after a student came to police on November 17th. Hello, ding, 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 wait a minute, that's today. After a student came to police on November 17th to report inappropriate communications and conduct by Morgan. That is what the officials are saying. So apparently, the student's complaint was of such magnitude that the England, Arkansas Police Department decided we need to go arrest this guy right now. So, Morgan is facing felony charges of rape, sexual assault in the second degree, and sexual grooming of a child. Officials stated that he was taken into custody by Lonoke County Sheriff John Staley and is currently being held in the county detention facility where he is awaiting his first appearance. The England School District lists Trent Morgan as its principal of student services, also ALE director and EHS coach. Now, I'm going to guess that EHS stands for England High School. As far as ALE, no idea. But they say he's the ALE director. Let's see. ALE, producer CJ, could that stand for Alcoholics of Lonoke Electorate? Would that be what it would be for? She thinks I'm joking. I'm grasping at straws. I mean, you can translate it as joking, but well, it wouldn't be Association of Law Enforcement because he's not law enforcement. He's in the public education sector, or at least he was till he got arrested. I don't know. It didn't say anything. Didn't say they fired him or anything. England, Arkansas Police Chief Richard Friend thanked those who assisted in the investigation. He said, when allegations of this nature are reported, we act immediately and thoroughly to protect the victim, preserve evidence, and pursue justice. I want to thank the Lonoke County Sheriff's Office, the Arkansas State Police Crimes Against Children Division, and the Jacksonville Children's Protection Center for their vital assistance. Well, hey, look, we want to thank them too. Absolutely. I mean, but again, the thing that kind of leaps out to me, well, the first thing that leapt out to me was, okay, what kind of vetting? What kind of vetting did the England High School do before they arrested this guy, right? But then the next thing that reached out to me that jumped to my mind was how quickly the arrest was made. The complaint to police was today, and police moved quickly. They said, "Hey, want to thank everybody for the investigation?" Well, I'm not saying there wasn't an investigation. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that looks like it was pretty quick. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that because, look, let's go back to what they said. We want to preserve the evidence and we want to protect the victim. And, okay, yeah. Makes sense to me. But I'm just wondering, because as soon as something like this happens, it winds up in something called Arkansas Court Connect. And I'm just checking. Yeah, hit accept rather than decline. I'm just checking to see if we got anything. I wonder how many Trent Morgans there are in Arkansas. Because, I mean, I can't imagine there's just one Trent Morgan in the state, because if there's just one, we're talking a long rap sheet, okay? What is the guy's middle name? If I could have that, maybe easier to find what they're saying about him in Arkansas Court Connect online. Anyway, we'll try to come up with something on that for you before the end of the show today. But those are some very serious charges. Okay, now, on an unrelated note, except for the Arkansas connection, Florida U.S. Congresswoman, Republican Anna Paulina Luna, is out there on Twitter just a few minutes ago saying Bill and Hillary Clinton are refusing to appear before House Oversight Committee for their depositions regarding Jeffrey Epstein. Notice how House Democrats suddenly have nothing to say about it. Well, that's cray-cray, because we've always heard that they wanted to get to the bottom of the Epstein thing, at least since Trump got into office. Somebody said, didn't Peter Navarro go to jail for this? Yeah, I think so. Somebody else is like, hey, so ask them what Chelsea received as a wedding gift from Ghislaine Maxwell. That would be a good one. Ghislaine Maxwell was Jeffrey Epstein's pimp/girlfriend who was at Chelsea's wedding. Anybody remember that? Yes, she was. Yes, he was. So, no, I did a whole show on Vince Foster last week when the Epstein email came out, in which Jeffrey Epstein told liberal reporter Michael Wolff with 2 Fs that Hillary and Vince Foster did indeed have an affair. So, I mean, when stuff comes up, I'm doing the best I can to try to get it out here. Oh, here we go. C3, one of the guys I follow on Twitter, has a picture of Hillary with Vince, has another picture of Bill Clinton getting his shoulders massaged by one of Epstein's girls, And it says the Clintons are refusing to appear before the House Oversight Committee for their Epstein depositions. I wonder why. Lock them up. Well, I mean, it's not surprising, is it? It shouldn't be surprising. Oh, no, wait. Hakeem Jeffries? For real? Seriously? Hakeem Jeffries was just confronted about the fact that a congressional Democrat colluded with Jeffrey Epstein to harm Donald Trump in 2019. He did not expect this. Reporter asked Hakeem Jeffries, who is minority leader of the House ever since Pelosi stepped down. Reporter said, "Why should Americans trust you and House Democrats on the Epstein files when one of your own, Congresswoman Plaskett, she's the one from U.S. Virgin Islands, texted Epstein during a hearing and he tells her, 'Good job.'" Hakeem Jeffries says, "This is a bipartisan effort. There is full and complete transparency. They can't escape accountability." Next. So, Hakeem Jeffries had no answer. I would say he's lost the plot, but I don't think he ever had the plot in the first place. You know what I'm saying, Holmes? Yeah. Now wait until I tell you what the Oversight Committee is saying about Democrats getting caught red-handed spreading a hoax about President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, about misleading the public, about lying about witness testimony, about doctoring documents. And now the scramble to cover it all up, that is coming up as the Doc Washburn Show continues on 101.1 The Answer. .1 The Answer. Doc Washford Show continues. Sound off and talk back, 501-401-1011. Just checking out at LinkedIn, looking for more on this Trent Morgan guy. And you know how it is. Well, I don't know if you're familiar with LinkedIn, but you know how it is when somebody changes a job and they want to update their LinkedIn, but they haven't been on LinkedIn in forever. So they don't remember their password. So they just start a new LinkedIn. So there are a couple of Trent Morgan profiles on LinkedIn that show somebody with that name working at different educational institutions in this area over the years. Nothing recent. Nothing recent. And so but the Trent Morgan that was arrested this afternoon was active on his Facebook page. This has got to be him because it's England, Arkansas. Was active on his Facebook page as recently as 8:22 this morning. So I'm just wondering if there are any responses people are starting to figure out that the guy's been arrested. Okay. All right. So again, presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. We'll see what happens. But found it fascinating that the England Police Department moved as quickly as they did. That's what I'm going to say about that, because I got to get to this Epstein thing. The Republicans in the House Oversight Committee are saying Democrats got caught red-handed spreading a hoax about President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. They misled the public, lied about witness testimony, doctored documents, and are now scrambling to cover up. We have the receipts they don't want you to read. Let's start with former Attorney General Bill Barr. Democrats claimed Barr could not clear Trump of wrongdoing after his deposition. What did Barr actually say? That there was no evidence, and that if Southern District of New York had anything on Trump, they would have indicted him, but they didn't. Then came Alexander Acosta. Democrats tried to smear Trump by linking him to Epstein via the 2007 case, but Acosta crushed their narrative. He testified that he never spoke, emailed, or had any contact with Trump about Epstein. None, ever. So, what did Democrats do? They leaked 3 cherry-picked emails out of 23,000 pages that made their own redactions to hide exonerating facts. One name they blacked out, Virginia Giuffre. Why? Because she publicly said she never saw Trump do anything wrong. Another Democrat redaction for their hoax, Prince Andrew. Why? Because the redacted context changes the email. They were fabricating a smear campaign, not telling the truth. Then they lied about who did the redactions. Representative Jasmine Crockett, delegate out of U.S. Virgin Islands, and others went on CNN pretending they had no idea who made the edits. CNN corrected them live, saying Democrats made the redactions. And they have the video embedded there in the tweet. We released everything, 23,000 pages. Suddenly, the same Democrats who spent months screaming, release the files, told the New York Times that doing so was meant to disorient and distract. So much for transparency. Then the fake and dishonest New York Times quietly edited their piece, removing the word disorient with no editor's note. They are literally helping Democrats rewrite history after their hoax fell apart. Disinformation in real time. But here's what no one's talking about. In 2019, again, U.S. delegate out of U.S. Virgin Islands, Stacey Plaskett, was texting with Jeffrey Epstein during an actual House hearing. Epstein helped Plaskett question a discredited witness who hated Donald Trump, none other than Michael Cohen. While Plaskett worked with Epstein to attack Trump, Democrats now want you to believe they care about the victims. They don't. They ignored Clinton's connections, buried exculpatory facts, and made targeted redactions to select documents to smear President Trump, and it's shameful. The New York Post front page said it best, dirty clicks. The Epstein so-called bombshell blew up in their faces. 23,000 pages prove it was just another Democrat hoax buried by media allies trying to bail them out. Enough with the lies. We've released all the documents, 65,000 pages to date, no cherry picking, no cover-ups. Democrats, they only released 9 pages. Americans deserve the full truth, not whatever version helps Democrats spin another hoax. And it says, read more about exposing the truth, and it links to their article about it, oversight.house.gov. Speaking of going on CNN, you know who went on CNN recently to apologize for being such a meanie? Marjorie Taylor Greene went on CNN. She said, I'm sorry. She apologized when confronted by CNN's Dana Bash about political rhetoric. Okay, now wait, let me make sure I understand this now. Liberals out there saying they're glad that Charlie Kirk got shot and he deserved it. Marjorie Taylor Greene is telling the liberals, I respect you. Let's tone down the rhetoric. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is out there saying the hoax pizza deliveries have started now to my house and my family members. Update, we also received a pipe bomb threat to my construction company's office buildings. Really? I never thought I'd quote Laura Loomer on the radio, but she said exclusive. I spoke with law enforcement officials at the police department in Rome, Georgia. They told me they never received a report today of a bomb threat at the business or residence of Marjorie Taylor Greene. Greene posted earlier today that because of President Trump, she was getting bomb threats at her construction company's office. It appears that Marjorie Taylor Greene lied. Rome, Georgia police just said they aren't aware of any bomb threat. The person I spoke with told me they would have been made aware of it. I recorded the phone call. I have a video of my conversation with the Rome, Georgia Police Department. Well, MTG. What a wicked web we weave when first we practice to deceive. You know what I'm saying? It's just a shame. She could have been so helpful. She could have gone somewhere. But she isn't, and she won't. And that is it's a real shame. It's a real shame. So anyway, we continue to be a voice crying in the wilderness. We continue to try to let you know what's going on around here. And no, because they won't give up. You know, I'm always amazed when people say, well, doggone it, if the Muslims who came here from another part of the world don't like it, why don't you just go back to where you came from? Well, it's because, as they keep saying, their intention is to take over this country. They don't have any intention of going back where they came from. They want to take over here. All right, I'm Doc Washburn, and I'll be back at 4:06 tomorrow, God willing. The great Dave Ellswick is up in just 13 hours right here.